Hello. Hopefully we are coming through. I may have to restart this. I've got some errors showing up across my end. Everything is yellowed. I can't tell on this end yet, so just give me just a second here to look at one more thing. Always seems to be something. I came on early enough to fix anything, and there was no issues until I rolled into this. And it won't allow me to look at the stream settings, so... No sound. Hopefully you can hear me now. Hopefully it is coming through. I still got the errors. Well, it looks like everybody can hear me now. It looks like it looks okay. I still have errors all over the place on my end, including one that says permanent error. Oh, now it's finally cleared up. No idea what that was. I've never seen that before. Sorry, folks. But it did not allow me to go live. Well, we are live. A lot of stuff going on. Excuse me. It's been a real long day. I won't be answering or doing anything on Mondays anymore until this settles down. Let me get a drink here. Mondays, last 2 Mondays have just been slam-packed, like 14-hour days with packing up and no extra help or anything like that. My one son's got stuff he has to have in the morning with some face chats for school, and the other one has something. So just me and the wife have been kind of slamming. Sales are going very well, which I'm really honestly still surprised at. You know, I thought we'd be doing okay, but they're actually up like 15% over last year. So I don't know where you take that from, but happily take that. So I know that's not everybody's case, and I do hope everybody does figure a way around it too, or some of the financial stuff comes in to help everybody. I know checks went out for some, but others got the check and they were already in the hole, and that check just is already gone because the bank kept enough to put them back in the green. So anyway, I've gotten some contacts from eBay about the issue with the sending out offers to people you've blocked. So I know I did report it. It's somebody I've talked to from eBay before. I just got the call, and I didn't even have a chance to get to it because it was just before the show. And I've also got emails from eBay about some other things. So there will be some conversations going on. I'll let you know what's going on with some of those issues as they come forward. And I also had some people ask on the rock ports that I had. I got some rock ports, and they don't match what now 2 pairs of other rock ports look like. So, you know, the size wrong, everything about them doesn't seem legit. I got a video on it, and I had somebody asking that. I've had 7 different conversations now with some head person at Rockport over the shoes. They still can't tell me if they're real Rockports, which I'm just like puzzled beyond belief that you don't know. They were asking questions on the exact store location and all this stuff. I don't know why they wouldn't know that information, but they can't even produce records of where the shoes came from, apparently, at this point. You know, I expressed my concern that you can't alter a label on a shoe, even, you know, on something like that. I don't know if they're real still, so I did take back, you know, new pairs of those same shoes. 'Cause they can't tell me if one of their own shoes with multiple images sent to them, close-ups and stuff, is real. It really bothers me, I guess I should say. You know, almost as much as the fact as if the shoes are fake. You know, it came from a national shoe carnival. You know, here in Ohio, it's a, you know, national chain. They have a contract, is what they told me. Rockport, there shouldn't be any issues. But again, they don't match 2 other pairs now of the exact same shoes. So something's going on here. The sizes are the same. They're supposed to be U.S. and all this other stuff, but definitely don't seem to be the same shoes. I know that's not usually what I talk about, but getting something that now you're questioning it's fake from a national company kind of really bothers me, especially when Rockport can't tell me what's going on. I may show a couple in Patreon, a couple of the emails. I don't want them blasted all over, but, you know, anyway. Let's see who's on here. Mail, we'll talk about the mail too, because I've gotten a lot of questions on the post office. Hey, Duncan, how's Duncan doing in Australia? 1.8 million per. Yeah, I saw that too. Somebody you might even know, another person from Australia I talked to like probably almost 11 or 12 people from Australia I've conversed in emails with and stuff. And they were mentioning that too. Now we're having issues here for those who ship a lot of packages, I've got package delays like in the 5-day range right now, that should have been delivered 5 days ago. If it once tomorrow, it's 6 days they're late. I'm talking a few. Anything that routed through Los Angeles seems to have had issues right off the bat. I've got some that don't show any scans from Los Angeles on and stuff like that. And I know if you check on pretty much anywhere that I've looked at, the post office is stating expect delays right now. So eBay, from what I saw too, is supposedly adjusting your account so that you're not going to get dinged if there are things running delayed. Because once the post office, I guess, officially declares, we're running behind, that eBay's supposed to work out some, adjustments to it. I know they're linked together, obviously. We all should know that. Everything that ships through eBay, the post office can see the whole thing pretty much. So anyway. And I haven't had our local postal employees are awesome. I haven't had any issues. The only person I've ever had an issue where we're at now is the person filling in for the postmaster and then the postmaster. Other than that, all the employees are awesome, at least the ones that I deal with. Whether you go into our local store or they're doing it here. And to answer a question, I don't go to the post office at all, unless there's something at a P.O. box or something. We've got 2 P.O. boxes that we use, one business, one personal. So just FYI, everybody picks up here. They pick up here 6 days a week from the post office. You can fill it out in advance, a year or more at a time. You can go and register for the post office box, or at least renew it online. And then from there, you can create an account, which I've had a United States Postal Service account on their website for 10 years. I use it for quite a few things in actuality. Sometimes you can help with addresses and things and a bunch of stuff like that. I'll mail stuff occasionally. It just depends on what I'm doing. It's good to set up the pickups, though. There's a page of it, and it'll tell you, what you need to do and the whole works. The rule of thumb is you have to have 3, I think it's priority packages or so many first-class packages for them to pick up on a daily basis. They've picked up bins of it here at our place, so it's worked out great for us. I don't like waiting in the line there usually anyway. I used to have issues with the post office, but since they started doing the pickups, most all the resellers pick up that I know. And so there's really not much of a line at the post office itself these days. I know right now probably not, but even when the pandemic wasn't going on, we never had a line at our post office, or not much. And there was usually 2 people there. I kind of miss going in there occasionally because we live out in the country, and sometimes you hear chicks, baby chicks and chickens and stuff that were shipped in, and you can just hear them chirping in the back sometimes. In season, you can hear them for days, sometimes a couple weeks in a row. People will be shipping in live animals. Yes, that's legal if you didn't know that. Yeah, China postcards. I've got a bunch of China stuff that I haven't put up just because, and I mean a bunch, only because of the shipping. Again, we'll touch on that shipping since I just saw that too. I'm hesitant because usually when I sell those, they go to China. And with delays and all the other issues going on, I don't know what the time frame will be or if there'll be an issue. And, I don't want to have to refund something because it's over the 30 days and then it shows up afterwards after I've already been forced to refund the money. So I'm going to hold off on the China ones only for that reason because, eBay's going to side with the buyer if it doesn't show up, I would imagine, even with some sort of delay. We've had packages to China, on average, if we're sending them from here straight through us, which I rarely do, they will take through eBay like 3 to 4 weeks. So you're borderline right there anyway. Hey, Naomi, how are you doing? Mariners. Now, I am, in all honesty, not a sports fan at all. I played baseball. And then I was on the track team. That's the sports I did, baseball and track team. I wasn't good at jumping, so I never did basketball. I got on the baseball team because I could run very fast. I was track and all that back in the day. I used to run the 500 and the 100, so. And we did cross country too. Let's see here. Yeah, if you didn't see, eBay's giving away another 50,000 through the next month as well. May, June? Just FYI. For me, I'm getting free listings. I don't pay for anything over my initial fee of my store. So it's actually, I'm paying less than, I have been, and I don't know how long, which is nice, of course. I'm not going to complain. At the end of the day, my bank account's still going up. I'm not losing, any savings or anything through any of this, which again, I'm shocked. I'm not trying to brag. It's weird because I get a bunch of emails, people having problems with this. I'll get a bunch of folks who have, more so than anything else, are clothing right now is what I hear. Because again, if you go on eBay, you can get name brand clothing from the retails, or even on Amazon. And on Amazon, there's stuff that's like 60-70% off of, like name brand companies and stuff. So, that's why it's a little scary. But there's people that are still, saying they're having great sales with clothing. Again, it depends on what they're selling and, their sourcing abilities, whether they're getting it cheap enough to make a bunch of profit on it or what the case may be. The majority of people aren't in clothing, but, like gym supplies and stuff. I saw dumbbells the other day going, just the kind I could get for 10 or 20 bucks at a like a GNC or something. Well, more than 10 or 20, probably about 40 bucks, going for like hundreds, weight benches and stuff. Even I saw on Craigslist that somebody must have figured it out and bought up all the cheap ones that were up there and then took them or did something and then sold them somewhere else for like 10 times what he paid for them, apparently. Somebody else told me locally that somebody called everyone in the Craigslist. I don't know, if there's any new ones up or not, but it reminds me of the bread makers. For those who know what the bread makers are, the bread machines you see at all the thrift stores, there's people that will buy every single one. They'll go in groups, and like 2 people, usually the ones around here, and they'll go to every thrift store and they'll buy every one of those bread makers and they'll break them apart into pieces. And there's a long, big, huge group of people that just need pieces and need to repair these things, due to a cost, I guess. But there's like one little thing in there that's worth like 40 or 50 bucks. I've never done it. I never wanted to dig into another electronic part like that. I like the areas I'm in. So, but there's a lot of people who do that apparently. And one guy told me he had like 175 bread machines at his house. I don't know what he was doing or what, but that's what he told me. And he had a whole cart full of them from a Goodwill, like 6 of them. Probably bet every one they had. Keep saying they are out of money, but every time I go, the line is out the door and wrapped around the building. Yeah, it just depends on what they're shipping out, Red River Group there. I don't see it around here, but I've heard that. I've seen photos. I've seen, news shots and stuff of that kind of thing going on. Volume-wise is the issue, and in them being able to compete with other companies would be my personal take. They can't compete with UPS on some things, or FedEx for that matter. That's my opinion on it. I don't think they can compete on some areas because I ship through all of them. We have a UPS account and all the whole works and all that stuff. So, their representative calls the house and stuff. With everything going on here, honestly, it's been pretty quiet. I mean, there's not any issues. Our store's fairly well stocked around here, grocery stores. I don't see a bunch of people doing anything stupid. Everybody seems very calm. Hopefully money-wise, everybody's doing okay. I get quite a few emails on people that are desperate, and, I can only do so much. I can only give you my recommendations. That's about all I can say at this point. We're all in a situation, and have our own issues here. We've got a medical issue in the family, so, something that could cost us like a ton of money. So right now we're concerned on that as well too, and what's going on. But hearts go out to everybody. So hopefully everybody is working their way through it. I would say if anybody makes it through this, the end of this in another month or 6 weeks or whatever this ends up being, you should be fairly well adjusted to doing online and not have any issues going forward, in my opinion. Again, I still would recommend cross-listing and doing everything you can to get your stuff everywhere you can. The more advertisement, the better. I worry about Chrome and, like the video I just had for PickClick, I worry more about where they're finding the items at more so than just a specific site, because more and more people these days don't go to just a site. They'll go to just a browser search and type in what they're looking for, because now, again, more and more people realize there's stuff all over on different sites now. It wasn't like just 1 or 2 platforms. So they'll search from Chrome or wherever, whatever, Firefox, whatever they happen to be using, and they'll go from there. So you could be mixed up your items from eBay as long as they're showing up. mixed up with Amazon items and Bonanza items and Ruby Lane items and Etsy items all on the same page, depending on, who's paying the most, I guess would be the point on that one. Hey Bob, how's Bob doing there today? I just posted a video 5 minutes before this show started as well. Well, 10 minutes probably on Patreon for those in Patreon. It's 30 minutes or something like that, or right at 30 minutes. It's the first part. I got the last video with the buttons at the end. I got more comments on that one and more personal messages and stuff on that one than I have in, geez, I don't know how long. So there's a really in-depth button one and is the first part of it. Let's see, where are we at here? Shailene, how are you doing this evening? Regina, how's Regina? Cornelius is in the house as well, I see. Yeah, he's hope everyone is selling a lot. I hope so too. Online sales are through the roof, obviously, because it's the only place to purchase some items. We've ordered some stuff. I took advantage of the price discounts and bought some Hollister shirts, believe it or not, because they were 60% off. We're in the gold thing, and then so we get free shipping, and then we had, I think, $10 or $15 in free. So I got like brand new $30 shirts for like $5 a piece. That's my concern on why reselling of clothing is going to be an issue. Because they're practically giving the shirts away. If I went to the local thrift store to find the same shirts I got, they would probably be the same price I paid with from them straight, shipped included. So that's what scares me. I don't like clothing anyway, so I know there's people out there, and I'm not going to call any names, but there has been several people that I've conversed with on some of the comment sections, and they're selling clothing just fine. Again, there's always an exception to every rule. There's always an exception to that. And there are some people who are awesome at what they do and are able to sell stuff that most other people can't. There's like in-person sales. If you ever worked in a store that dealt with sales, I've seen some people who worked under me. I mean, the old joke was, you could sell a ketchup popsicle to an Eskimo in white gloves, that kind of thing. And I've seen people that can just sell stuff beyond belief. And there's a play to it too, I would say, in wording and stuff like that too. I could spend more time and research, specific keywords a little better in some of the stuff that we do. And in new stuff that matters more. I think keywords in like new NOS merchandise, FBA and all that, keywords are more important with those type of things than as much as the old stuff in my book. That's what I see. Hey, Disney Family 515. Yeah, there's a new video up there too. Hey, Carl. Same there, Carl. Denim Labels, good evening as well. Glad to have you back. Gail, how you doing? Danny M. Danny Vegas Picker here. I was watching something from Vegas just the other day, and it's totally going to slip my mind, but maybe it was one of the Pawn Stars or something. Yeah, that's probably what it was. I watched that just to see the items. Nothing against those guys. I don't know them, but Hudson Resale, how are you doing? Let me slide down. I know I'm behind. Let me try and catch up. Emily, good evening. Yeah, I think the stream is set fine on my end, but for some reason my YouTube stream keeps getting reset. So when I come back to reset up a new live show, it says I'm good to go, and then instead of being the right 1080, it drops down to 720 for whatever reason, and it's done this now like 2 weeks in a row. I did send a notice, and so hopefully they'll get back with me. Hey, Rosemary, how are you doing? From Canada. Yeah, we're still probably going to Canada if everything settles out, but who knows at this point. It's going to be pushed way back probably till end of the year at this rate. We were set to go to Canada this coming up summer. Hey, Danny M, how are you doing, Danny? Annie, how are you doing, Annie? Seems fine here. Well, thank you. Hopefully you're doing well, Annie. Let's see here. Good evening, Karen. Yeah, I'm not a big fan on YouTube set up for live, honestly. It just always has some issues with it. Can you hear me now? Yeah, I hope you can now. Thanks, Gail. Yeah, sales. Oh my God, this past weekend. man, it was really busy, and I was really surprised. Now, I've talked about Hip. We sell on Hip platform. The Hip, in fact, we're on a couple of on Hip, but they automatically import your listings into Hip, and I do Hip postcards. I'm selling, geez, as much on Hip and postcard wise as I am selling on eBay right now. Now, obviously, when I do a sale on eBay, it automatically carries that sale over to Hip. So it's like advertising on two sites at the same time with a markdown, and it hits them both. I'm impressed with that, you know. And Hip, when it sells something, it always catches them on my side. I haven't found one, and I check them constantly. I keep a track of how many sold here versus how many sold there, and you know the whole works. It works fine. I'm really surprised. The comic version of it works. Hip Comics and Hip Stamps works as well too. I've never sold so much on the Hip platform as I have in the last month. You know, it's like 10 times as much as I had been selling before, and I'm no exaggeration. So I mean, even if I wasn't doing as well on eBay with postcards, which we're still selling just as many, I'm now doing way over on Hip platform. So I'm so glad I did it. And you know, honestly, even though they raised the price, it's $250 more. It's now, if you pay in a year advance on Hip to do postcards, for those who've asked this question, it's $750 a month, but you got to pay in advance. It's a one-time, you're done for the year, and everything else is going straight to your account. You know, other than the fees, obviously, your selling fees. Let's see, where are we at? Yeah, up and down. There's Naomi saying as well. Bob, let's see what Bob's got. We don't sell a lot, but sales are up for me too. It is helpful. So sales are up overall. Again, it depends on what you sell, honestly. That's the biggest take on it. It depends on what you sell. Vintage stuff is flying for us, and all kinds of just weird, interesting stuff. I have been, and I've talked about this before, we've been dealing with a regalia company in Cincinnati area, and we've been driving and stuff. I have a shipment that showed up here since I couldn't drive, and I bought 100 pounds of 1920s and before uniform buttons, and I'm going to be going through those mostly on Patreon. You might see some sales history for them when they start to sell, but I'm big into uniform buttons and stuff like that. Some of these date back to before the Civil War era. It's a massive, it's the most I've ever gotten in my life. It's the biggest purchase of these type of ever gotten. It's just a massive 20,000 buttons, all vintage, all early, all old content. So that'll be in Patreon for sure. The Weebles video, I've really been doing a lot on that. It's pretty much done. I'm letting a few friends watch it and stuff like that. It's a 3-parter as of now. It'll start rolling in Patreon probably next week. So Patreon, you'll get a 5-day advance, and then it'll roll up to here on YouTube. Just FYI, I want to get some more feedback. It's a little bit, you know, the wife's in it too. Marky will be in it too. Outtakes you'll get to see on Patreon as well. So there's a bunch of outtakes. You know, we both goof off too much, I guess, sometimes when we get together. And there's a lot of goof off stuff in there too. So anyway, you'll get to see that in Patreon. In the past, I know I've shown a few clips here and there, but you'll get to see a bunch of outtakes from Marky and me in that video. Plus, you'll get to see some of the close-ups on the toys too. There's a massive amount of toys in that Weebles video. I guess that's why we spent a lot of time too. Her collection of Weebles is probably into the like 2,000 or 3,000 items easily. It's not the biggest there is. The person who wrote the only price guide on with vintage Weebles, him and there's another person that have like the biggest collection I guess in the world. But my wife's collection goes across like 6 different countries, so that's a pretty decent one. Let's see, Carl, my sales in April have been 56% more than any other month ever. Mine haven't been that high, but, you know, I'm, you know, taking apart that I've got sales on other platforms I never had before. So my bottom line is way up, you know, considerable. I have no complaints because I'm up, you know, every month as it is, I go up a little bit either way. And now I'm up like 15%. So I'll take my 15 because for us, it's a pretty big chunk of change. You know, I don't know what Carl does, and I'm not going to pry, but Carl does really good sales from some of the conversations we've had. He's in sunny Florida. We had snow here 3 different days in the last week. 3 different days we had snow. It was snowing here last night just for a little while, and they were big, massive sizes of snowflakes. Really weird. I mean, it's been some really crazy temperatures. Let me slide down here. My feed freezes, as we know. Yeah, selling video games. I put them up, and I even, there's a video, I think, and I think it's on YouTube. I could be wrong. It might just be Patreon. But I talked about some of the videos, and then I list them on Amazon. I just listed them high. I didn't care, what anybody else is doing. I sold every one of them. I never lowered, discounted, marked down anything. I sold them higher than almost everybody else sold them, even on Amazon, because I just let them run. And sure enough, I went, the ones that didn't sell on Christmas just sold. Every one of them within a 2-week time frame. I have no video games in house, I don't think. I might have DS Lego Batman. I think that's the only one I have in house right now, and some that we're playing and messing around with. I pulled off a bunch of the games. We've been playing Atari 2600, one of the originals. I got Star Raider in with the pad and everything, and I used to play that when I was a kid, and I love some of those early games. And I got a vintage Nintendo here, and we've been messing around with an original ColecoVision too. So, and it's on 10-foot screen. I know it's a little blurry, but it's just kind of neat. Turn off all the lights and stuff. And anyway. Yeah, see, here's John. Let me skip for just a second here. John's saying that the eBay refunded them because of the transition time or transit time. That's exactly why I'm not going to send to China until the shipment time frame speeds up. I've got one person here who's bought $150 worth of stuff. He's already paid for it, and he wants me to hold him until things start to settle out where he's at. Usually he gets stuff to his place of employment, and he can't do that. So he doesn't like him at his house. So, I do that. I've had him now for 4 weeks. So, somebody I've dealt with he's been a customer of mine, I should say, for, 4 or 5 years. He's a professor, actually. I have heard of that, and that's exactly why I am not shipping to China right now. Nothing against anything in China, but hey, Penny, how are you doing? Good evening, Penny. Welcome back again. Hang on, my feed just bounced somewhere, and I've got to find it again. Here we are. Yeah, electronics are selling. There's 3 or 4 people that I talk to fairly often. I didn't see Mike on here, but Mike's another one. All the electronics sellers are doing phenomenal right now. If you had weightlifting equipment, as I said, all that stuff's going. Home exercise equipment, that stuff's going. Like a cross trainer, stationary cross trainers, those are all going like mad. We've got one that we use, and we've got a treadmill that we use ourselves. I bought a real nice one at a Goodwill for like $25. I could have sold it for over $5. It's a real nice one. The only problem was getting in the car, and I busted something in our car, but it was worth it, I think. Let's see here. Well, thank you, Fio Oxa, if I pronounced that right. Naomi, not yet, but one customer is complaining and believes his book is lost in the mail. It's been a week. Everybody's used to getting the quick delivery. Again, that's another issue I would say, too. eBay should be, in my opinion, posting out notices to people who are buying stuff, or just putting a little flag before they can pay it. It says, hey, acknowledging that they know that might be a few extra days because of the current situation. That's what I would personally do out there if it was me, in all honesty. I'd add that option out there. Well, thank you, John. Thank you very kindly for the $5 super chat. Again, not needed, but I do honestly appreciate it. Every little bit helps with everybody's business, of course. I do spend a lot of time doing this. I was debating on showing Patreon what we make on YouTube, but somebody else told me that's not a wise thing to do. I don't know what the rules are. No, I can't get there. There we are. And thanks again, John. I do appreciate that. Let's see here. Mr. Exquisite, how are you doing? Hang on a second. There goes my feed again. RFID chips and shoes. I was shocked that, I know I'm behind. That's why we're talking about shoes. Just one real quick second. I'm shocked they couldn't instantly say they were theirs. They wanted the ability for them to wonder where they came from, what specific store. I told them they, were the city and everything else. There's only one store here, so, I didn't think it would be very hard for them to figure it out. We ship DVDs first class. I always do. Media mail, I haven't had much issues unless it's going to CA. I sold a couple 78s, two different people in CA this week, and one's already there already, which blew my mind. The other one's like days away. It's hit or miss. It depends on when it was sent, I guess, and which truck was going which way at which time. Yeah, but I send video games, all that stuff, first class, no parcel or anything like that. I don't use priority for any of those either. They can't go media. Some of those, the games can't. Mr. Exquisite or Exquisite is saying same thing on media. I've had hit or miss. Books, if you're selling them through FBA, you shouldn't have much problem. They are sending some books out from what I see. We've still ordered some stuff off Amazon just because we can't go anywhere else. Like dark chocolate covered coffee beans. Wife loves those things. And of course, they're way cheaper on Amazon from a U.S. manufacturer. George from Portugal, welcome. Not sure what the weather would be like this time of year there. Always wonder stuff like that. I don't know about everybody else, but I always wonder. Disney Family 515, USPS really late with the deliveries. I've been contacted by buyers to let them know. Same here. I've been dealing with a lot more emails than usual. A lot more. Not, just on eBay, but across all the platforms. HIP and things like that. I had somebody who sent an offer on HIP and then didn't realize it. And then he says, I don't have the money. And I'm like, we just move on. Package stuck in Taiwan. Are you a collector? Good evening. Black crystal dice in the house as well. Greetings to you also. Things are going pretty well. My dog Jinx got her stitches out Wednesday. They come out with masks. The whole works out to your vehicle at the vet, and then you open the door. They grab it, and you can't go in the building or anything right now. They take one animal in at a time. You got to call outside from the parking lot. Works fine. I don't have any contact. We're very distant apart, and the whole works. And at least I can get my animals taken care of. So that was a plus. I was worried they might close it because my baby girl had surgery, and she had 16 stitches or more for a small sized dog. That was a lot. Let's see here. Hey Nancy, how are you doing, Nancy? Good evening. Issues in Michigan. Yeah, if my pack, sometimes depending on what part of the country they're coming to, they'll go. I look at scans all the time, so I watch and you can pretty much tell where they're going to go from one spot to the other almost every time. And I know if they come from like the Toledo one, they'll end up in Detroit, and then they'll go to Dearborn, and then from Dearborn they go to my local branch. And then sometimes if they go to Toledo on certain days of the week, they'll go from Toledo to Holland. It just depends on what's going on, I guess. I guess around here they got some deal with UPS as well, and they do like the end run delivery, which was kind of odd. I was surprised that somebody did that because we've gotten packages on the weekend on Sunday delivered by a postal employee that weren't a U.S. Postal Service package from the way it looked, What Bob's got package for Nebraska. It showed up in Hawaii today. It was Nebraska finally. Oh, and I can see that in some cases, but that's a extremely far out of the way shipment to go to Hawaii, no matter what the path is, unless straight from Hawaii they would go to Nebraska. But I don't see as that would be the case. I've flown a lot in my life, and I can kind of judge most of the airports, at least in the continental United States. There's only so many airports, I should say. Everybody knows Atlanta, obviously, and LAX. Detroit's the only real decent one around here, so our little local one isn't very big. I've only flown out of there twice in my life, and only because other flights were canceled in Detroit. George, having a problem with international shipping is taking too long. Customers are getting upset. That's exactly what I was saying. Your best bet, and this is my opinion, I haven't done it yet. I've been just hesitant to do it, would be to roll into just doing overseas shipping through Global Shipping Program. That would be my best guess, because the minute it hits eBay, you're free and clear. It doesn't matter how long it takes. There's nothing else they can complain about. And if they give them a refund, once it hits them, it's on eBay again. So if it's not there in a certain time frame, eBay has to take the hit on this. That's the way the rules are. I'm not like trying to stick anything to eBay. That's how they set it up. Obviously, they didn't think this would happen, but that's the way they set it up. CT to Michigan sometimes takes 14 days. They're probably like going from big city to big city would be my guess, depending on where you're going in Michigan. I bet you they stop in like Cleveland, and then from Cleveland, if they're going road or air, it would depend, I guess, too, because they could go to Detroit Airport, for those who know the area, you know. Big flea market by Detroit Airport, which I wished was open. We used to score there a lot. Obviously, this year, who knows what's going to happen. It's possible Amazon buys eBay. I'm not going to conject on anything like that. More like Bezos buys the post office. If it keeps going like this, I see in our local area those panel van Amazon delivery vehicles now here. I mean, I was going to take one of my friends is a sheriff, and he's got a station. He's stationed out of the airport, and I was going to go down there because somebody told me Amazon's running out of the airport direction somewhere. I don't know where. I'll have to look into that. I'm curious. To see one of those trucks on my street out in the country kind of, and not a lot around, was kind of surprising. Yeah, I won't conjecture on it. I doubt any of that. Amazon has a vintage department, and they haven't invested anything into it. They're not even, everything's gated. Nobody new can get into it from what I see. Yeah, Wendy Lee stopped international shipping. I can see that. I'm still running. I got a reel-to-reel going out tomorrow. They paid top dollar, and they went through global shipping, is why I did that one. Anything like that over a certain value or weight automatically goes via global shipping program, or depending on the country, of course, no matter what. I still sell that way. They spent $12 more to have it shipped than they spent on the item. So, you know, it was a $35 reel-to-reel. I need to post some more to Instagram. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, I'm going to shoot out some tomorrow. That pen haul that I got, that I showed people a while ago, maybe it was in Patreon. I don't remember which platform it was on, but I had a pen haul, pen and pencils. I've been selling those. In one day, I sold 4 at $25 a piece. I mean, we've now made like $480, $490, somewhere in that range profit after everything's said and done on those pencils. And I got a whole box of them still left. You know, I figure at this point we'll be selling $75 to $100 a month in just pens and pencils out of this lot in perpetuity almost until they're gone. That's what happened last time I had them. We had some railroad pencils like 2 years before that, and I sold like $50 in pencils just out of that lot every single month for 2 years, pretty much religiously every single month. It was really weird. It was like almost timed out. Yeah, I am worried about the new CEO, eBay's new CEO. I don't have any honest faith in the pick. I wanted somebody who's been down in the grudges of where we're at, and who's experienced, you know, working his way up. Who didn't go to Princeton or Harvard. I don't remember where he went to. Maybe it was Princeton, Stanford, one of those. I wanted somebody who just wasn't an MBA guy, is what I would say, in my personal opinion. Somebody who can think outside the box. Now, I know people have a mixed feeling on Elon Musk, but if he had eBay, I bet you $1 million it would be doing much better than it is, in all honesty. Or Mr. Wonderful or someone like him, because you can see the value. My take on it is eBay's value is in that they're selling all these vintage and stuff. I mean, I would just say there's a ceiling that they will hit, because most people go to other places for the new stuff. I mean, I don't see a way around that. There's no, unless Amazon stumbles, I don't see them catching up. That's just, I don't see what eBay could do. Even at the point they're doing now, even if they offered free listings, I don't know if that would totally fix it, because there's other platforms that do that as well, and they could be pushing that. I don't know where they go with it. I don't think about, because I don't want to be in charge of anything, like that. I love what I do. I love our own stuff. I love that it's my stuff. I don't have to worry about it. I can do it however I want, and I can say what's successful. Hopefully they get their stuff together. Hopefully it works out, and we go well with this. The guy who was temporarily filling in, he's gone in June too, which was puzzling, because I thought he was the chief financial officer, if I'm not mistaken. So that means that they're going to be replacing his position as well. So we'll have the new CEO in, and then whatever the fill-in guy's name was, his spot where he stepped out of will have to have a permanent position filled, because obviously they bumped somebody to fill his spot. If this new guy comes in, he could start replacing people, and I would want to see what their take is on stuff and where they come from if they're not straight from eBay. For me, him being with eBay before means nothing, as it was 11 years ago. You leave a company, it's not the same when you come back after 11 years, especially when Amazon wasn't of concern at all back then. I just don't see that being the issue. I've looked at trending. I know when Amazon overtook eBay and which direction it's went from there. All you got to do is do a trending for 15 years, Google Trends, and then look at the spikes, which way it goes. Amazon, was down at the bottom, and then they shot up, and eBay went in the opposite direction. It looks like a big X, I won't. Amazon's got its issues. I will have to say that. If we have an issue as a buyer, though, they take care of everything. That's the only thing I can say. I'm not saying it's always right, though, because I see people take advantage of it. I'll give you an example. I ordered some dishes for the wife. We ordered 2-box sets, so we had enough. I think it was, I can't remember how many were in there. Maybe there were 2 sets of 6, so we'd have 12. And one bowl was broken, just one bowl. And I told him this. I was on the live chat, and I said, I just need one bowl. Can I just get the one bowl that was broken? And instead, they sent me a whole nother set. So now, we took it because I asked it, can we send it back, and blah, blah, blah. Nothing. Just take it, keep it, don't worry about it. I offered. I didn't want that. I only wanted the one single bowl. I know it may be hard for them to find a bowl, but you would think they'd have singles in case something breaks. They're China, for God's sake. I looked at the feedback before we ordered it. Half the people had it chipped or something wrong with one of them, and I took the chance that I'd at least be able to get a bowl or something if something happened, and that's what happened. I had no interest in having. I think we have 18 of everything now, and I don't know where to keep them. I think my wife had to put them somewhere else. Even wasn't our goal. That's a waste of money. Yeah, sure, it's good customer service, but it is a waste of money. eBay refunded customers even though tracking shows stuck in transit, especially social media. Now, John, on tracking, eBay isn't supposed to allow anything to close or side unless the package hasn't been tracked or scanned or moved in 10 plus days. That's the rules. Unless they changed it. That has been the rules. I've talked to eBay personally about that on many, many times. So if it's in transit and there's no scan, you got to scan on the 1st of the month, and there's no scan all the way up to the 9th, there's nothing they're going to do until it's over 10 days. So on the evening of the 11th, it would be the 10th day with no scan. But if, let's say, on the 9th, it's scanned in, still in transit, you still got to wait 10 more days. That's how it's supposed to work. So if they're canceling out and refunding it, the only thing I can say is it had to have not had a scan for 10 days. And I look at that before I call or complain about something if something happens. That used to be the rules up until, if it has changed, I haven't seen a single announcement that said that's not how it's working. Let's see here. Nancy, Media Mail has been taking up to a week just to get from Las Vegas to Los Angeles. I think it's the Los Angeles because they were hit. The coast over there was hit really bad with the pandemic, a lot of deaths. Most of my issues, as I said earlier, are coming from Los Angeles. If Los Angeles is involved, it seems to be an issue. That's my take. And again, I look at posts constantly. We've got something coming from Arizona, a couple different packages from the same person even, and one that went out first hasn't arrived, and one that said it was going to arrive in 2 more days is already here. True, it just arrived today. Let's see here. No problems with my mail carriers, though. Everything picked up on time at my... Yeah, everything's local is fine. Yeah, I'd agree, Nancy. How you doing, Gabe? Ducks, yeah. Chicken ducks, yep. Gail knows what I'm talking about. I like hearing the little sounds they make because it just echoes through the whole building. It's really kind of neat. I've been trying to get into postcards and sheet music, but I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm buying in bulk. If you're paying dirt cheap in bulk, I wouldn't recommend buying off eBay. That's the first thing I would say if you're trying to find postcards. And the reason I tell you that, most every postcard seller on eBay sells their leftovers in big bulk. That's what I do with mine. I'll sell 1,000 of them for $135, down to say 115 plus shipping. So anybody who's got 1,000 counted out, and you can count them out by measuring, just measure a stack out 100, and then from there you just take the ruler and you can measure, give or take a few, and I usually throw 5 or 10 in to make up any difference. But most of the time you see a big lot like that on eBay, and people ask me this all the time. If you look at their other items they're selling, they'll be selling individual postcards. There's no way on earth those people didn't look through those postcards if they sell individual postcards, especially if they have 1,000 or more up. There's folks on there that'll list them for months and months and then pull them down at a certain date, and they'll bulk them all up in 1,000 lots, and then they'll list a whole bunch of new ones, or list a whole bunch of new ones while they're doing this. I've seen it over and over and over and over and over again. I don't buy any of that stuff on eBay. I wouldn't recommend it because, again, most people who sell that, whether it's baseball cards, comic books, even sheet music in bulk, they've sorted through it. Look at what they're selling. Don't ever buy something in bulk from anybody on eBay unless you look at what they're selling. And if you can't see a bunch of information from what they're selling, look through some of their feedback. In some cases, you can kind of get a gleam of what they may have been selling as well because of what people have left for comments, like excellent issue 4 and stuff like that. Maybe they're selling comic books or something. That's my take on it. Well, thank you very kindly, Carolina Pix. I won't say your first name there. I appreciate it very kindly for the $5 super chat. Some names I'm great remembering, patrons versus regular. Sometimes the names don't sync and it's hard to, and then people change their logins and things like that as well too. For those in Patreon, all the new folks who have joined, the new exit or ending video is updated too, just FYI. I do that every week. And then they stay in there, so you'll get your name in there for pretty much perpetuity. Red River Group here is saying, it might be their automated system. It's still supposed to, from what I've personally been told by multiple reps, it can't open a case, or they can't, unless it's not tracked for over 10 days, 10 full days. So the post office has technically 10 days of no scan showing up before eBay will even step in, is what it's supposed to be. John, they said I can just ask buyer to repay after it's delivered. You can ask them, but it doesn't mean they will. I'll tell you that right now. I have heard cases. I haven't personally seen them. People tell me stuff all the time. I get constant contact that they've had issues like that. And at the end of the day, eBay didn't make them, they couldn't just take the money, I guess, is the gist on it. I haven't seen it happen. I asked for if they could show me maybe something with the conversation to see where it went, but I haven't heard nothing back. If you haven't hit the like button too, might I ask you to hit that like button, thumbs up if you're enjoying the conversation. Got about 160 people on from my end. And 51 likes. If you don't like the conversation, that's fine. That's your call. But I try to go straight on through and answer all the questions in order. I don't bounce around. First in, first out. I do everything that way. I think it's the fairest, so no one can say I'm trying to pick one person over another one or anything. I don't think eBay is going to be sold in the near future. That's my take on it. If I would ever have worried in the past that could be an option, this is probably the worst time, I would say, for that possibility, in my personal opinion. Now, I don't call out news people at all in videos, but somebody sent me a link, and I was compelled by their comments on it. Type in, I can't think of the name of the management company. Okay, type in Tucker Carlson. Even if you don't like this person, I don't watch mainstream news like that. I don't. They're both biased in either direction. They're both the same in my book. But type in Tucker Carlson. Again, it's not somebody I watch, but Tucker Carlson and Elliott Management, and watch that. It's an 8-minute video. I researched everything he said in that video, and I can't find a thing wrong with it. Everything seems to be 100% legit on who is running Elliott Management and what they do to companies. They killed Cabela's by forcing a sale and stuff like that too. So if you want to know who's partially in charge of eBay, search that out. Again, I'm not trying to put any political anything on that. I'm going at the content of the video. It was brought to my attention by several different people. And again, I don't mind that at all. And I generally don't watch stuff like that, but it was from somebody I've talked to before, and I trusted their judgment enough to watch the video. Let's just put it that way. And I was surprised that it was dead on. I mean, dead on. I believed everything in that by the evidence from other sources. I looked up everything. So again, it was a Tucker Carlson Elliott Management. That's if you type that in here on YouTube, you will find that video. I don't remember what his show's called or anything, but that should give you right who he is right there. And that video was an eye opener, and that's my fears. The Toys R Us model comes into play, selling off stuff of value. Now somebody else brought up, with StubHub they're not selling tickets and stuff like that too, and maybe it's a good thing that they sold it. Maybe it is, but that was not the intent, and they've already spent the money on buying back stock. So either way you go, it's done. There's no way going back for it. And it's a long game. I wouldn't be worried about a year or two. I'd be worried about everybody celebrating once this is all done and going out and going to all these places. They're going to be flooded. Everybody's going to want to get back on the road. All the musicians and the groups and everything else is going to be back on the road, and ticket sales are going to be going back up. Ticket sales are always there, and with the prices, we went to Trans-Siberian Orchestra in December, and it was almost $500 for the four of us just for that concert. Well worth it. Best concert I've been to, but the point is that there's a lot of money. Even some smaller group like Trans-Siberian Orchestra is in the top 10 of touring bands in the country. So I paid attention to the values in this stuff. StubHub is a huge value, even if it takes a year or so dive, because they went from a couple $100 million to $4 billion. So, they've already made payday. Even if they take a hit for a year or two, they can cut the overhead down to almost nothing and then just ramp back up when it's done, Well, thank you for that, Mr. Exquisite. The only clothing I'll touch are new or like new boots. Boots do well. I love leather jackets. I've got 50 in my personal collection, and I'm not exaggerating. One of these days, I'll show you a whole bunch of leather jackets. I got them from most eras. My oldest one's from the 50s. I wear a 1960s AMX Harley Davidson jacket. If you see one of the brown ones I wear. And then the other one's a Buffalo 1968 or 69, like a Fight Club jacket that I love. I love old jackets. I've got punk ones. I've got the 80s hairband ones. Got some 90s grunge, old New York cowhide. I even have a horsehide one as well, too. I've got an A1 pilot's jacket, too, that I've worn forever. I love vintage leather. Let's see here. Gabe, I have sent medium mail before and it's gotten stuck in shipping facilities before. Medium mail is iffy. In normal times, I have no issues with medium mail. I use it all the time. I send every record medium mail. I send every album and 78 medium mail. My 45s weigh 5 ounces. I just throw those in packed with first class. Yeah, high-end brands. I got you. I figured that was the case. Around here, you're not going to find them, Michael, how you doing? I appreciate a ton of returns once this levels off and people are allowed to shop again. Anticipate that was. I don't know. It depends on what you sell. I don't have returns as a general rule. I may have had one this year that I can think of. The whole up until now. And maybe not even then. It may have been last year. I almost never have a return on anything vintage. Again, I don't sell clothing anymore. Even on Amazon. Last year I had one return on all of Amazon. One single return. And I let her keep it. It wasn't worth the hassle. But it was for a sale of an item that they changed the label on it. When I sent the item in, it had this specific label on it. When after she bought it and complained, I went and looked at the thing. They changed the photo for the listing I used to list it. So it was annoying that happened. The whole site changed and they upgraded the label on the item itself. I missed that one. No big deal. I moved on with it. So why is the shipping calculator so far off? I haven't had any issues, but I've heard it from 2 or 3 people now. I got an estimate of 55 cents first class mail for a 1 ounce item, and when it told it was really $3.18. I don't know what shipping calculator you're using is the thing. If you're sending a letter out, a correspondence without a piece of merchandise in it, it's 55 cents for a stamp for a 1 ounce envelope, just an envelope. If you're sending it out through eBay, though, you have to have tracking, and it has to go as a packet, a package. So it's $3 and whatever cents it ends up being on that package. There you can't send out merchandise technically in a correspondence envelope. They're two different services. A correspondence is for mail, and I think that covers bills and things like that, because that's technically a correspondence. You're going to respond to that. But a piece of merchandise has to go first class packet. That is technically the difference. That's why if people ask you to send a postcard or a piece of paper or something they bought from you off of eBay in just an envelope with a stamp, that's against the law, because the stamped way, where it doesn't go with a import-export form, is only for correspondence. And correspondence, again, does not mean something they purchased. It's a receipt, a bill, something along that line. It has to go different means to ship that way. So if you send it out without import-export out of the country in a stamped envelope, it's breaking the law technically. Now, I'm not saying somebody's going to rush to your door, break it down, and arrest you for that, but there may come a time when they just start dinging people online because they have the access to see how you mailed it and what it is because of their links through eBay. I don't violate those rules, If I mess up on something and I've already charged the person, I take the hit. I don't come back and ask for any money. I don't hold it off. I don't try and ship it a different means. It goes out the way they paid for it regardless, even if I lose money. I haven't had to do that in years, though, but that's how I would personally handle that as well. If it means I lose money on the whole sale because shipping was more than I made on the item, I lost. That's my loss. Unless I can prove without a doubt that it's eBay. But a lot of the times when you check a price, I see people just throw in a dimension, and the dimension won't be correct. They'll be under by an ounce or by 1 inch even sometimes. And 1 more inch, they pack it, and it's 1 more inch bigger. That 1 more inch, you could put it in a whole different category by cubic size. Going to California, a 1 inch difference, and this is true, a 1 inch difference can be a $30 difference in price for shipping. It just depends on where that 1 inch falls. So when you pack something up or you're putting a price up for shipping, you're doing the calculator is what we do. You got to make sure that it's the exact weight, it's the exact size. I always know what size of box it's going to go in. Do I need to cut it? Do I not need to cut it? And, that's just something you need to do. Once or twice I've wrapped it and put just too much in it, and I ended up going over by an ounce by what I charged them. So I just cut off a little bit of the cardboard box, one of the inner flaps, and brought it down another ounce, and boom, I didn't have to pay the extra money. That's what I do. I'll spend a minute or two to repack something a little bit, or take out 1 or 2 little crumples of newspaper if I think it can get away with it safely to lower the weight just by that little bit. So, and half the time somebody tells me they have an issue like that. I don't know everybody's issue, of course, but half the time when somebody tells me that, I'll be talking to them via text or something and ask them a few questions. Did you do this? What was the size? Did you put the size in? If I catch it beforehand, before they actually mail it out, usually it turns out that half the time it's the size changed after they wrapped it, and then the size put them over into another bracket. Hey, Marie, how are you doing? Good evening. I see the hubby in there with you, too, it looks like. Or the other half, I should say. There should not be a price on eBay that quotes a 55-cent first-class mail that I am aware of. I haven't seen one. I never ship anything like that if there is. And it wouldn't have tracking, which I'm required to do with Top Rated Plus status as well. Gabe has a question. Don, have you ever made bad buys when sourcing? If so, what did you do? I have had bad buys, but it's been a very long time. And not to brag, I don't buy it if I'm not sure anymore. I'll just move on to the next purchase. I don't have a problem with finding inventory these days. I did, I'm not saying for years we had big time trouble trying to get this and trying to get that, but we've done this now. This is like our 10th year full time, 20 plus years just, selling on weekends. But after 10 years of full time, I don't have, things like that happen anymore. I look up enough always. But in the past I have bought, a lot or something. Here's an example. I'll give you a couple solid examples here. When buying records, in the past, I used to look at a big, huge quantity to say there's 5,000 or 10,000 discs. And, maybe they were $300 or $500. I can't remember which the last big one I bought like that was, which is a reasonable price for that kind unlooked through from like a jukebox company. That's usually where I get them from sometimes. Not just buy them. At the end of the day, sometimes they were like people's leftovers. So you'd go through 5,000 records. You spent all that time. You'd get up a stack like this, and that's all the good ones out of there that are worth selling on their own. And then to get your money back, it's going to be a hard press because you're only having a few. You might get a few $100s from the ones that are sold singly, and then you'd have to bulk lot everything else up together, and then it's a lot of time. When I sell a bulk of 45 discs, I'll list 125 of them up in a lot, and I usually put them at 145 or 150 for that lot if they're just chunkers or something. Now if they're like R&B soul, I'll do them as a auction. Opening bid $75 for 125 45s, all R&B, classic soul, northern soul, and floor stompers and stuff like that. It's a lot of time because I type in, well, I don't do it, but my employees will type in the artist, the label, and then one song for every one of those 125. It's the only way to do a good sale on them. And then I'll just use just a stack of records, so I don't have to take photos. All the time goes into typing those in. Now I can type okay speed-wise, like 50 some odd words, but my employees aren't that fast, and it's just I don't want to waste the time doing it. So you waste more time than you'll get back out of an investment like that. So just because you see 5,045s and they're $300 or $500 or whatever they happen to be, 5 cents a piece is what I try to get them down to, or less. Sometimes 2 cents if I'm buying like 5 or 10,000. But time, it doesn't matter how much you spend on them. I've realized that my time is more important than trying to get them a little cheaper and not looking through them. When I buy 5,000 records, I'm going to sit there and look through them. And if I have to look through 2,000 of them to figure out if it's worth buying, that's what I'm going to do. I'd rather spend a little time looking than come back later on and find out there's nothing there. And when I'm looking through them, if I see them, I'll pull out the better ones, set them aside so I don't have to go look through them again. So at the end of the day, sometimes I'm able, even at that point, to just offer him money for that stack. Now, a lot of the times they don't want to split it up. They just want to blow them all out. They've probably looked through them and they threw them or they spiked a lot. A lot of people do the spiking from what I see, just like on eBay with like lots of postcards or whatever you happen to buy. Now, they're not all like that. If I sell a lot of 45s, they're good. They're playable. They're all VG or better because I don't buy 45s anymore unless they're VG, unless it's something really good, something like a Sun Elvis with push marks, something like that. Even in a clunker condition, like a chunker copy of it, less than VG minus, will still go for like 100, 110. Yeah, Annie's got that there too. Thanks, Annie. Annie, that's exactly right too. The rule of thumb is try never to buy a bad deal. If you don't know if it's a good deal, why would you buy it? That's my take on it. I'd rather pass something up and not get skunked on something. I don't get skunked on things. If I'm out in public buying something, I'm looking it over hard, and I'm looking it up on the phone if I don't know what it is. A lot of things I don't have to look up, though, because it's in my areas of where we do stuff. And, once you've done the same area for 10 plus years, you darn well better know it, There's just it's a no-brainer in my book. The more you know, knowledge is power. I don't care what anybody else says. The more you know, the more you will make. I don't care what that knowledge is, as long as it's in the areas that you're selling in. That's why I took extra classes and extra this and extra that. It's like backup. Know as much as you can. Let's put it this way. If you're going to local auctions, estate sales, that kind of stuff, flea markets, and you're buying stuff that other people probably buy, you need to know more than them to be able to either skunk them out or still get a profit after they've looked through them. So you need to know as much as you can about the areas that you sell in. That's my take on it. It's done me well. So even if sometimes I'm second, and even occasionally if I'm third looking through something at a flea market or something, I can still crank out a few extra dollars out of stuff they missed. I figured, what they're not looking for, and the weirdest, most expecting value out of stuff, like some just out of the way, unknown country western singer that may have some hillbilly classic hit, or say a bluegrass hit, or somebody like that. It's usually on some screwball label. Geraldine is a label around here that was produced in Toledo, and it's one of those labels that the names of the people on there aren't the greatest. Stucky is one of them, and I won't call out the first name on him, but It's somebody that most people would just assume just by the titles of the song that it's not going to be worth anything, and the label's awful. But it's like a $60 or $70 record. There's another one that's a Northern Soul, and it's called "Message to Society," and it looks like it's going to be a speaking record, and it's not. It's a soul classic worth $700, and that's like one of those other ones that I've picked up a couple times after a Northern Soul guy went through them. And this is one of these times that happened from one of the record stores around here, because I have some of them that save stuff in the back, and if I'm lucky enough to be the first one there when they're saving it, I get to look at them first. So anyway. Yeah, some items you can still source. There's a ploy you can do with sourcing even on clothing, but you got to be really, really careful because the discounts are getting out there. You'd have to hang on to it and hope it's back in season. But some items that are being discounted, like certain jackets, you'll still be able to sell come Christmas season. Just my personal opinion, but you better look into that yourself. Let's see here. Disney Family 515. Pick Click I've used for quite some time. I've talked about it once or twice, but that video was done, I think, a little while ago, if I'm not mistaken. I've got a bunch of videos we've done, and I've just got them sitting there. Sometimes I'm just not happy with the way they look or something about them, and I don't publish them after I've edited them even, unfortunately. A lot of wasted time. Let me slide down just a little bit here and hope it doesn't move. When cross-selling, what do you do when you sell one product on, say, 3 platforms? The site that I use, Shopify, was doing it, or does it for me. The site I was using, Sellbrite, does it for you. So, but there's a catch to that. You have to import all your listings into the third-party app, and then end your listings on the app that you imported them from. So if I import them from eBay into Sellbrite, I have to end them on eBay and then rebroadcast them out from Sellbrite. But once you do that, Sellbrite syncs everything. It takes control. Just like for those on Shopify, you click the little button to broadcast to whichever platform, which listings and all that stuff you're going to do, and then it I think the sync on Shopify does it within like 10 or 15 minutes from what I've seen. So it'll pull them down. Like if you're doing like a Hip site, for instance, Hip does it automatically. What Hip platform does, if I sell on Hip and eBay and stuff, it will pull it down from, it'll end it on eBay, and what it does is it puts the word sold in parentheses in the first word of the title. So literally, if you miss it, all you got to do is type in the word sold on a search of your items, and it's always going to pull those up. So if you ever want to check, it's a one-word search, and if for some reason you accidentally relisted it, that's how you find it. It's instant. I did it once, I forgot, and I relisted it, and I came right back in and typed the word sold in. Everything I sold had that word in it from Hip, and I just went back and deleted them. There's like 7 or 8 I could have missed. Other than that, like on Shopify, it does it for you. Sellbrite does it for you. There's like 5 that I found that will do it for you. Prices vary. For us, it's expensive. So Shopify was probably the best bet we could do. The only problem with the Shopify transfer, it was expensive for as many listings. I'll tell you, that's a lot of money. You have to pay. They have like an app store. You got to pay for things that you can use. Now, if you transfer, you just pay once. Now, there's like some other services you can add on and stuff like that too. A lot of people don't need that. They don't want that. I understand what they're doing with the platform and how they're doing it too. So, just FYI. Let me slide down just a little bit more. Carlene, how are you doing this evening? Hope you are doing well. I'm just going to go for just a little bit longer here. I think I did cover pretty much most of the issues. I do have a video ready for tomorrow. Those in Patreon, you have a video to watch right after this show. It's already up, posted, ready to go. I ended it at, I think, 30 minutes just for upload issues. For those on Patreon, too, I may do another live show like we did this past weekend on Sunday at 2 as well, just for the Patreons, and just do store reviews to catch up some more, so everybody who wants one will be able to get one in Patreon, just FYI. Hollister is my work uniform, Gabe. I will say that for sure. But I like the clothes. We go to the mall. Godiva is there. My wife loves the Godiva. And I like seeing what's out there. Once in a while, we can make some money off the Toy Box. Sometimes Spencer's we can make some money off. NOS, FBA. There's several other places you can make money. GameStop at the mall, sometimes I can make money off of too. Even Leather Limited, sometimes I've bought in a few jackets and was able to flip those for 100, 125. So it just depends on what you're doing. The mall can make some money. The shirts I do, they're comfortable. When I order a shirt offline, the materials, I hate not being able to feel the material. And Hollister is just as good as any other store. I've never once had an issue, and when I even remotely suggested something, they fixed it right away. So, and it's probably whenever I go into the store here, they're excellent. I mean, offer me any kind of service I want. So that's why I Hollister. The shirts are fine. I like these Raglan ones too. So, excuse me. Shailene, how are you doing this evening? Didn't mean to miss you there. Doing good, thank you, Don. Hope all is well. Thanks for all the amazing info. It has been a huge help as I grow my business on various reselling platforms. Well, glad to hear. Carlene has a comment or a question. Has anyone noticed a glitch in eBay when you sort? It will show one description for an item and picture for another. Was doing yesterday and today. I have seen it once or twice. I've even heard from somebody that they got an email from somebody for a different item that wasn't even theirs. I didn't see the email, so I can just tell you what people tell me. I did personally have that glitch where it sends out stuff to people you have blocked, the watchers. And I've had many people since then, dozens and dozens of people now, tell me the same thing happened to them, or that the business policies themselves happened where it blocked them, and they couldn't figure it out. Even when they called eBay couldn't fix it for the buyer, didn't know what the issue was or why it wouldn't allow them. And by sheer luck, they found something, and sure enough, they were on their blocked bidders list because of, I think it was too many unpaid item strikes in a 30-day time frame. One more thing. Somebody told me or made a comment that just because you block a bidder doesn't mean they can't email you. That is 100% true, but all you got to do is go into settings, buyer requirements, and then there's a radio button there that you click and it'll block anybody from emailing you as well, which is something I've had on since day one. So if you don't realize that or don't know that, once you block them, to stop them from emailing you. Now, they can still email you for a little while for the issue that you're dealing with currently with them, but once you click that radio button under buyer requirements in site preferences, they can't email you again unless you accidentally or unintentionally send them a offer to watcher because you don't know who your watcher is. Again, eBay did call. I do have a message from the same gentleman I talked to on a video conference with eBay last year. I will probably give him a call tomorrow. And I have received emails from other departments at eBay just this week over some other things. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. So they do know the issue. They should have known it when it happened in my book because I did report it via email that happened, and it shouldn't be something I should have to have dealt with in the email. But apparently they don't pass those things on, I would say, because I was asked, I think, what the item number was, which, again, it's tied to an email with support, which I sent out, and they answered several times. So they should have all that information. That I've brought that issue up before. It's a shame that, they can't look into these things. Maybe they have to have permission. Maybe there's some sort of privacy issues. Maybe, I don't know. I shouldn't say any more on that. I'm not sure. Paper Junker, how are you doing? From the Grand Canyon, selling eBay off platform. Probably camping out and selling via satellite laptop. I know somebody who's done that before as well, too. How you doing, Shane? Oh, I don't doubt, Shane, that Pawn Stars isn't scripted. I don't doubt that at all. I just like looking at the items, I should say. I kind of judge if the price is good or bad. I even look them up on other platforms sometimes when I see something come in. Half the time I believe the prices are they're within the range, I would say, right off the bat. Other times I'm a little skeptical. Sometimes I wonder if they're too low so they can get them cheaper in certain cases. I've heard reports of one of the guys who comes out there and gives them an estimate. One of their experts has bought items later on for that price, and turns out he went and sold them for more. That's what I saw in another video, and I don't remember the name. But if you type in experts Pawn Stars on YouTube, you're going to see those type of videos. Just like one of those storage war videos. We know somebody who worked at one of those storage facilities where they found like a two-person airboat that was brought in the day before, from what we were personally told by somebody who worked and ran that facility. So somebody my wife went to school with for years of her life. So I would have to say that that's not legit either. Well, thank you, Rosemary. We got Summers422. How are you doing? Again, new video up tonight on Patreon. I can't get old sold items to come up in search even. If they're just ended, it says there is no such number or nothing is found. I'm not sure what you're looking or where you're looking at, I guess, is the issue. John, with the tracking information, it has to be no movement for 10 plus days. Yes, I have seen many glitches. I couldn't do anything. It kept trying to go to the same page earlier this morning for like an hour. We couldn't list anything today. Even if it shows that it was delivered once the money was refunded, I don't know how you're going to get them to pay it back if they really don't want to. It might be kind of hard in my book, you know, because I don't know. I don't know. Is eBay going to force them to do it? Is eBay going to take their money? I don't know. I think they can only just ask. That would be my opinion. Evening, the flipping accountant. How are you doing? Okay, but it's tricky learning all these new item categories for sourcing. If you want to be successful, you got to know a lot of categories. That's my best recommendation for anybody selling. The more you know, the more you're going to make. It's just a fact. So if one dies or one gets flooded like clothing or whatever the case may be, or the market tanks, you've got many other markets to activate on. Let's say there's a category you're selling in and your sourcing abilities just totally dry up and you don't know anything else. What are you going to do? You know, you should always start to learn something else. As soon as you got one lockdown, start learning something else. Pick off two at a time or whatever it takes. Don't take them all in at once. Obviously, if you see a bunch of stuff that looks good, you know, look it up and see. That's why I say when you first start out, just pick up anything you think's worth money to get money coming in. And then worry about centering in, because you don't want to lose time centering in on you know, a niche or something when you need to be making money and flipping. You don't want to waste the time on that. You want to just look up good stuff that you find and move on from there. Niches, though, is the only way that I know of to get repeat customers constantly and to do multiple sales to the very same person almost every time you sell to them. It's a plus, because if you're selling one-offs, randoms, random clothing you picked up, it's not the same size. You're not going to, I mean, what's the chances of you having like a certain thing that this one guy's looking for, you know, and then next time he wants something else? I mean, it's not practical. So if you can't get the same type of items, your best bet is to get items in the same category, so at least you can get the same type of seller or of buyers. At least you can reach out to those buyers that will buy the same things over and over again. Because again, if you can't find the same things over and over again, you got to find the same buyers over and over again. I mean, you got to do it one way or the other. Either you got to sell a bunch of the same type of things, or you got to have the same type of buyers coming in. Of course, then you sell the same type of things. Hopefully that makes sense. Cypher. Plug your Patreon. Like, what are the advantages of joining versus regular YouTube? Patreon's mostly, there's 153 videos. Most of them are 30 minutes or longer, I think, or at least 20 plus minutes or longer, every one. Lately, they're like 30 minutes plus. It's mostly a lot of like custom in-depth videos on stuff, not just like a cursory or some highlights. I try to go in and show you how it works. There's some other videos on there. There's some from other people, other sites, not like other people I've invited in, just like open shareable videos from YouTube that will help you on some things. I got some forums in there. I do store reviews in order of how they come in. I answer questions. I answer every email that comes in. I mean, it's $9.99 for that. You get everything on there. I'm working on a guide. It's not done because I'm still fighting over photos, but there'll be a guide. I do post some other things and stuff like that in there occasionally. call out some things that I don't call out in here. I mean, it's your call. It's mostly just videos. I'm not going to guarantee you're going to learn if you don't want to, I should say. Anybody who's in there, I would say most everybody wants to know the extra. It'll give you a heads up on all the categories and stuff I talk about, I guess. You know, if you don't like it, you can drop out at any time. You just pay your initial month, and that's it. And you get to use it to the end of the month. It's billed on the first of the month or something like that, the first or second. You know, I haven't had any negative comments from people. I mean, obviously, money is tight, so not everybody can afford it or wants to. So, you know, that's their call. Let's see here. The Junk and Data Girl, how are you doing this evening? Glad to have you on. Can I count your Patreon as a business expense? I would talk to your accountant, but I would say yes. I would say definitely so. But it's just going to basically mean you don't pay taxes on that $9.99 a month. It's an expense, a write-off, you know. Let me slide down. I'm going to cut it off in just a minute here. We are going past it. And my sinuses are already acting up because I got a dog that wants to be down here. Yeah, Shane's saying with the pandemic, you'd think customers would understand, but I don't see as that's the case either. Excuse me again. Pardon me. Hang on. My feed's going to bounce. I can tell you right now. It's totally frozen. Give it just a second here. I'm to the bottom, and I know there's... yep, there we go. Now it's way up. Let me pop back up here. If I can find where I was. Hang on just a second. No, I had one I wanted to look at. Now I can't find it. Sorry, folks. Again, my feed just disappears sometimes. I still don't see it. Oh, maybe this is it. Okay, I got where I'm at. Sorry. Yeah, Annie says the same thing. I would deduct it. Of course, I turn everything over to my accountant, so I don't really have to see all that. But yeah, I would say for sure. Excuse me. Boy, my sinuses are killing me with her. Bob just listed DS Lego Batman yesterday. Well, thanks, Bob. So now you're trying to compete with me there. Denise, I think you had a question on there on some suffragette items. Yes, you can legally sell them. That is from back in the day. Everything would be dead on those. Those are 100 years old. I'm sure that's you, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm wrong, I will answer the person in Patreon then. But if that is correct, and I'm almost sure that's you, you can sell those. I would not hesitate to do that. It's very interesting sounding what you got. My son is not sick, but he still has a heart condition that will not go away. Thank you, John, again. I saw it right there. And my feet just doused again. Do people buy the remote that do not work? This is about 6 and a lot, but I may trash them. Doris. It depends. Sometimes I've seen people fix them if the case is smashed. They go for dirt cheap if they don't work, though. Let's see, where are we at? My feed's all over, so if I miss somebody, I do apologize. I live in Michigan, and Detroit isn't scanning. We've got scans from Detroit right now. I've got packages that just scanned earlier from Detroit, so I don't know what your issues are, where they're going. It might not have hit Detroit. Ann Arbor is another one, and then Dearborn is another one around here. That's most of my scans always go through Dearborn. It just depends on exactly where you're at. They don't use a route that you would think, and it almost never goes straight from one destination to another. It always goes off in one direction and then back and then around every time I see it. Jackass Retro, well, thank you very kindly. I appreciate that. If you have questions while you're in Patreon, of course, I do have email directly to me. Anthony bought a bunch of elementary, middle, and high school educational books, posters, and other stuff to sell on eBay because everybody is teaching from home. I would be a little cautious on that, only because locally here, everybody just went online. Everything's online. In fact, the school gave out, anybody who didn't have a laptop, they gave out laptops to. I mean, they got to return them, but still. Carolina picks sales 80% up compared to last year. Yeah, we're still on lockdown to the 1st. I don't know what they're going to do. School has been canceled for the entire year, so our kids aren't going back to school at all this season. There's an article online, this is from Shane right now, about that Trump is going to loan the post office money with condition that the Treasury Department will take over key operations of the U.S. Postal Service. I don't know how that's going to work because they're technically different departments, and they'd have to, I think, change a law to have that happen. Now, I would honestly wouldn't have a problem if the Treasury did something such as offering the ability to cash checks for people who don't have banking systems. In my opinion, that would be a good plus, because then you could double duty the post office, and you could make money. But anyway, I think we should probably cut it off here. Hopefully, if I missed you, I do apologize. Longer than I usually run, so I do apologize for not getting to everybody. I do try to go straight down the list on there. Again, if you haven't followed me on Instagram, I'm trying to post more on Instagram. I get really tied up without any employees now. I got to do a lot more than I normally do all by myself, or at least with minimal help compared to, because everybody else here obviously has other activities and stuff too here. So again, there's certain days I just don't have time to do anything with, but hopefully everybody is doing well. I do appreciate y'all coming on. Hopefully your sales are going well. New video up tomorrow, and as I said, there is a video up in Patreon as well. And check out my Instagram page, The Auction Professor, on all the platforms we are on.